Well, you know, I got here this morning and I said, I'm going to take some of the morning. I'm going to take some of the morning and do my videos this morning at 9 o'clock. We were riding high off the win of Globetrotting last night. The horses in Ohio have been racing good. Always our backbone is in Ohio. We'll talk about that in a minute. So I get to the barn. I said, I got a couple I was going to train. Darling Please, I trained out here fast the other day, a lot faster than I thought she could go. I wanted a follow-up training trip with her to see how she was. I wanted to train White Tiger. I wanted to go with One My Heart Hanover. I wanted to see Northern Blizzard on the track. So I had some stuff to do here in the barn and on the track. I didn't quite get to my videos. It's now 1:25 in the afternoon, and we're getting ready to leave. We're supposed to be heading back home.
And
but,
I'm helping Dad.
And you're helping me, correct. And we decided, Ava and I, that we were going to do a video while we were waiting for everybody to finish up. Do the opening video. It's pretty hard not that, you know, we race so many horses that this is the time of year when we get to see the good, the bad, and the ugly, right? When you look at the good, obviously Globetrotting proved why she's Globetrotting last night. I know a lot of people may not know this filly, but I know her very well. And one, Trace Teacher gave her a great drive. That's important, and I'll tell you why in a minute. And two, you watch the race. She's not 100%. She's not perfect, but still draws away from a pretty good bunch in behind her. You know, the best fillies went a little bit faster in the first division, but they also got to float away into the 3-hole and remove to the front, Globetrotting, and to leave from the 9-hole and, you know, play Kingmaker. And she proved again that she's just a really, really good filly. I can't wait till we see her at 100%. Obviously, she's just getting over that infection that was in her leg, and she had a pus pocket, and she's not... Mechanically, you don't have to be Stanley Dancer to figure out she wasn't 100% last night. So a great job to Jason for having her prepared and ready to go. A great job by Trace. Now, I was on pins and needles last night. You know, the whole border thing, I wanted to be there. You know, do I have to drive Globetrotting? No, clearly I don't. So maybe I won't. Maybe what I'll do is stay here and try and get the babies prepped for Ohio, try to get the babies prepped for here in New York, Indiana, and give me a little more time to work on some other projects that we still have here. Sunshine and Shade, we'll talk about him in a minute. Spirit of Dio is... Spirit of Dio is on her way back from Pennsylvania. We're going to take a look at her. So there's some stuff that I need to do. Now that Trace has a pretty good handle on these fillies, I don't see why, if he wants to come and drive them, I don't see why we shouldn't allow him to. I mean, I'm your partner on Globetrotting, and nobody was happier than me to see Trace Teacher women Globetrotting last night. He drove them good, he drove them smart, and it's not it's not always an easy thing to do, is to roll in not knowing anything about a horse, hear a trainer say, just be careful, you know, she's not quite 100%, and then go out and execute the way he did. But he's a Tetrick, and you know, the kid wins a lot of races in Indiana and does a great job, and just proves exactly you know, why we asked him to come. So good for Jason, good for Trace. I'll be mulling it over. Obviously the next one's in Northfield, a little further for Trace, a little closer for me, but at the same time, with the border restrictions here, once I go to Ohio, I'm gone, and I'm not coming back to Canada until
winter.
No, until they loosen up the restrictions. So it's a frustrating time for Amy and I right now, and the kids,
because we can't go to the cottage.
No, you can't go to the cottage. You can't go to Ohio with me until they loosen up the restrictions. So listen, I want, as I said, I was incredibly ecstatic last night to see Trace get along with those horses. You know, I've always said that you know, my role should be bigger with the 2-year-olds, and if we have 3-year-olds that other people can drive, which we do, all of them for the most part, then so be it. As far as Trace Teacher, I mean, I've only driven Compass Rose DC a few times, so it's not like he's that far behind me when it comes to how many times he's driven the fillies. She was push button. Somebody had said, you know, spend that money, might not belong in there. okay, let's be fair. Spend that money, trotted faster than the other two fillies last night. She was in a place where she was going to have to sprint into speed she's never seen before to win, or even get in a position to get a check. She was only beat maybe, 3-4 lengths, and raced fantastic. I think if Trace knows her better, he lets her sprint out of there, drops one of the favorites down in front of him, and probably finishes up maybe in the top 3, definitely 4th or 5th. But, looking at her lines, it looked like she was not quite as good, definitely, as the top 2, and maybe a couple other ones. So he played it a little more conservative, but which is fine. He did a great job overall. So very, very happy with the way Trace drove the horses last night. Very happy that Jason... Ava, stop. Very happy with Excellent Nation also winning this week. And so overall, 3 fillies raced fantastic in Ohio. Excellent Nation was a winner. Susie K beat a half a length. Now, I had somebody call me and say, or message me and say, well, why are you not racing Excellent Nation in the stakes? I've always told everybody, I need people to understand this. This grassroots division is a bit of a sham. Unless you can win, and it's not just Ohio, it's the same as in Ontario. I have zero interest in racing in the grassroots unless they can win at a regular basis. You're paying to race in the non-winners of 2, and if you can do in the non-winners of 2 at the Mohawk, then you should be at the non-winners of 2 at Mohawk. If you can't do in there, you can't do in the grassroots. Sweetheart, sit back. You can't do in the grassroots. So unless you have a horse like Capistrano, I suppose, where she's got money made and wins on her program, she's trying to round herself into shape, then yeah, I can see sending her to the grassroots. That makes sense. Excellent Nation, he can race in that condition claimer. They're not going to claim him. He's going to pound them, and he's going to get a ton of experience and a ton of confidence. And if we look at the Buckeye division and say, okay, we think he can win in there racing against the best in the Buckeye, then so be it. We'll go to the Buckeye. We'll miss the first division. If we like the landscape in the Buckeye division, then we'll go back to the Buckeye division. If he's going to get in 4 divisions, if he needs all 4 divisions to get in, he's not the best horse in the Buckeye. So just relax, be happy the horse is winning and putting some positive numbers on the board, and we'll see how he does this week coming up and what we do the week after. Susie K, same type of thing. I think Jason was actually entering her in the Buckeye because her class didn't go this week. She was entered in the same class and it didn't get in. So Jason's on the right track. I had said to Angie out in Illinois, maintenance man, put him in where he can win. Class looked a little stiff. I see he was 25-1 morning line. Race good, finished 4th. As I said, I don't care where Angie races him. Just put him in where maybe we can get her picture taken and wave to people in the winner's circle. That would be... I guess you can't go to the winner's circle anymore right now, but that would be, metaphorically speaking, that would be the way to approach all of our horses that are away. I'd rather get all of a little bit than a small amount of a lot. You think about it, the Buckeye goes for 18.5, it's 9, 4, 2. He made more money winning than you would have been third in the Buckeye. So, and you would have had to pay to race in the Buckeye. So, just situating the horses where they can do good for now is... paramount. Everybody says, oh, you always talk about everything that's great. You never talk about the bad. Of course I don't talk about the bad. It's like talking about the wart on your back. Nobody wants to talk about what's bad. By the way, I don't have a wart on my back, but I'm just saying. But at the same time here, I'll tell you what didn't go right this week. We sent about 50 horses or more out this week behind the starting gate, qualifying, racing, whatnot, what have you. We sent about 50 out. So here, I'll start with the ones that didn't wow me. Now, in the qualifiers, the wind did play a role with a lot of the horses. Some of them it did not. Why? I really don't know. James and I talked about this, and I thought about it the more and more that the day went on. Why did a horse like No Free Lunch not seemingly have a problem with the wind, and other horses have a severe problem with the wind? Is it their mentality? Is it their work ethic? How they approach the race? Is it their mass? And James said, well, maybe the smaller horses struggle more in it. Don't get much smaller than I'm a Lovely Lady, and she certainly didn't struggle. So let's go through who didn't go good. You want to hear some depressing news? Fine, let's talk about who didn't go good. Sunshine and Shade can't be worse than he is right now. The vet is on his way to scope him right now. Something's up with the horse. Something is up with the horse. So you have to, we have to figure out what the problem is and then combat it. My take on Sunshine and Shade after looking at his blood report last week was simple. Maybe he wasn't quite as ready as we needed him to. We trained him up tight this week. He raced even worse. So there's something going on with him. It's not lameness. He's not lame in any way. He's not sick. He is laying in his stall. He could be sick now, but he wasn't when they drew blood. He wasn't when they drew blood 5 days out before he raced. So something is going on with Sunshine and Shade. The problem we have when a horse races that bad as a trainer, you have a job. Especially we do, because we have clients that are asking. First one, did he bleed? Was he sick? Did he tie up? Is his heart all right? These are 4 questions. Now, the heart one we could check last night. The vet was there, but there's no scope. So we don't know if he bled. We don't know if he's sick. He didn't look like he tied up. We're going to draw blood on him on Monday. So we can't answer any of the questions for Sunshine and Shade today. By the time you watch this video, we'll have almost every answer for those questions. But as of right now at 1:35 on Saturday, I have none. So Sunshine and Shade raced terrible. Nancy Allison. I've seen Nancy Allison be bad before, right? I've seen her act up before. I've never seen her do that. Pace to the gate and canter and pace the whole way. Now, my original thought was we had just had her shod 2 days before. And this was surprising to me. We're ready for Nancy Allison. She's a badass and always has been. But not like that. I've seen her throw herself, flip out on the track, run away. She was quiet in the warm-up. She trotted nice and quiet in the post-parade. She trotted up to the gate nice and quiet. We picked up speed. She paced and cantered for an entire lap. An entire lap. So, babe, what? Yes. So what do we do with Nancy Allison? Vet's coming again to scope this horse. Want to put the hoof testers on her again. See how she is. Do we need to put flip-flops on her bars? I've had a million people message me. Everything from, why don't you try the pacing hobbles on her and see if she'll pace? No. Why don't you take all the hobbles and weight off her and just let her trot? Again, wonderful idea. We've only done that a million times. We trained Nancy Allison in 58-3 at Mohawk last week. She was perfectly fine. So something between her training day and her racing day caused her to do what she did the other night. The other night was not her attitude. I was happy with her attitude. It was mechanical. And I would suspect it's her feet. But we're going to find out today as the vet comes. He'll put the testers on her feet. If they're not bothering her, we'll draw her blood, see if she tied up. That's a possibility. She doesn't look crampy, but there's obviously different layers. Some horses, if their muscle count gets up a little bit, it's not a big deal. They might just look a little off. Some horses, they can get pretty high. You jog them in, like, the horse is a little cramped up. You take their blood and you're like, oh my God, this is ridiculously high level. And then other horses, they can't function at all with that level is up. So I think somewhere in between the feet and tying up, we'll find out what's going on with Nancy Allison. I was a little shocked the other night, and this is a tough time, right? No, we waited on this filly for 1.5 years. Some of the stalwarts that bought into her, Jeff, and a number of my partners on this filly have been here from the start. But you're going to have to be patient. Being upset and saying the filly needs to do this or needs to do that, I get it. I appreciate the help, but at the end of the day, we're going to stay the course we're on. When she trained in 58 last week and look for the likely answer, which is something took place between 58 and the gate the other night. The only thing that I know for certain took place was that she had new shoes put on. So, did the blacksmith take a little bit of too much foot off her? Didn't look like he did to me, but we'll find out when the veterinarian comes and puts the testers on her in a minute. Roy Hill jumped over a shadow. He had tons of hope on this horse. Brought him over because we can't get the Mohawk and do the appropriate track work. And the only day we could have trained last week, it wasn't sunny. There's no shadows on the track. We warmed up Roy Hill. Oh my God, you may as well have been alligators on the track. Well, you saw, if you go back and watch a portion of the video when he jumps, there's no shadow there. We put a shadow roll on him, but he remembered where the shadow was and leaped right over beside where the shadow was. But there was actually no shadow where he was pacing. So we let his head down and worked with him all morning after the qualifier, working on the shadows with him. Will he absorb that? Will he take it? Will he not jump over a shadow again? I'm not so sure. But we will find out next week Wednesday, hopefully it's sunny and we can get him over to Mohawk and train him a little bit and see how he feels over the shadows. Now, So Admirable, another filly, bumpy. Is she off? Is she lame? Is she sore? She clearly has a couple little holes in her. Now, are those significant? Are they a problem? Can she work through them? Can she get over them? I don't know yet, but we are going to find out very, very soon. We're going to make a little shoeing change. Another filly needs a hoof testers put on her. We're going to make a little shoeing change on So Admirable and bring her back maybe next week, depending on what the blacksmith and vet find. Sunshine in May made a break, small filly. As I said in my video yesterday, probably should get her to a half-mile track and get her qualified at Grand River. Made a break. It shows her last half in 59 2, mile and 2.4 after making a break. Not disgraceful in any way. Northern Blizzard. Again, we changed the shoes on him before the qualifier. Not a smart thing to do, but at the same time, I felt that he needed to trot cleaner than he was trotting with the flip-flops on. Not a shocker. I think we knew that was going to happen. So I took the flip-flops off of him. Now, I suspect the wind, tight hobbles, and the shoes he had on maybe played a role, but we're going to start with the first two, the wind and the tight hobbles. I think if the wind dies down, we can let his hobbles out a little bit, let him be a little more comfortable on the track. We can see that horse that James said he saw last week in a mile and 2.2 at Mohawk. If we have to, we can put the flip-flops back on him and he can chew it himself a little bit. GW Chrome did. I said to Amy and a couple of clients and partners of ours with GW Chrome, I bought a brand new pair of trotting boots right before he went on the track for him. He came off the track and it looked like somebody ran a cheese grater over both boots. He's chewing at both his shins, but so be it. He is for now. That's why we had the boots. Every time we tried to tinker with his shoeing, it was a disaster. So you know what? I'm just going to let him mature. As long as he's wearing those aluminum shoes behind evenly, which he is right now, as long as that trend continues, we're going to leave him just the way he is for now. Italian Grit, little flat. I'm Hill on Wheels, made a break at the gate. Argento, James said he goosed him. He did that the week before, halfway down the lane and he run. Argento needs to be warmed up very hard, and he needs to be somewhat tired and focused when he goes to the gate, and I can assure you that is what's going to happen next week. I'll be going with Argento next week. First Glance, we come off the track, little quarter crack right hind. Probably the majority of the reason that he made the break and got out of gear was that quarter crack. Let's say the vast majority. But when we measured his hobbles, there's an 1.5 inch difference from the left to the right. It's not possible. And we looked, what had happened was the where the buckle is, it had ripped through 2 holes of the What's wrong? Ava, what's wrong? Ava, why don't you take your sister for a walk, sweetheart? Thank you. What's that? Okay. Addie needs to go for a walk. Take her for a walk, honey. Thank you. Ava. So now I know Ava wanted to help with the videos because she didn't want to take Adeline for a walk. She's so sneaky. So First Glance, we didn't notice right away because it was so weird. So in the hobbles, you have holes. The clasp, the metal clasp, had just tore right through 2 holes. So the hobbles were that much longer, one side to the other. Now, had they not done that, I still think he would have had an issue with that right-hand quarter crack. It's a small one. We can fix it, take the pressure off it. If he's okay to go next week, we'll go again next week. If he's not, he won't. So I will update you on First Glance later on in the week. Rito Sunshine was terrible. He was obviously sick. The vet is going to scope him also when he comes here. Beef and Cheddar was a little flat. Now here is a little bit difference. James said James got away last with him. I wish he hadn't got away last. James just wants to let him close up in the end of it. Fine. But if he's not in the action, he's a little dopey. He's done that all the time training. So I'll probably go with him next week, or maybe beat James up in the parking lot before we send out Beef and Cheddar. Get away 3rd or 4th, or even 2nd if you want. Don't get away 7th. And then I believe a horse made a break in front of him, kind of jostled him. Beef and Cheddar looks around at a lot of stuff, doesn't pay attention until he has to. James said late in the stretch, he realized again, oh, there's a race on, and he took off. Finished up strong, looked good, finishing up his mile, but just very green. And in that regard, James is right. He's just extremely green. Hi.
Can I put it in the carbs?
No, you cannot. Put her in the stroller and take her for a walk down around the
I
barn.
want to go with you.
Oh, I'm not leaving you here.
Yeah.
Hello. So beef and cheddar next week. He's probably ready for a mile 57 or 58, probably, I would think. Probably going to get away closer with him second or third. If I can go with him, fine. If James wants to go with him, fine again. But he's going to take on a beating for the race. Girls with swirls, vet sculptor, pimples, a little bit of mucus, and what he called an immature throat. I think what he means is the palate's kind of weak. So we have a choke plate on her. He thought maybe baycoxing her a couple of times would help, but either way, she's not coming back next week. It'll be the week after. She needs to get over that virus first. And Tanzanite Tricks, similar, pimples, a little mucus. She has flip-flops on also. Now, here's a little thing. Flip-flops are a pair of a horseshoe with the ends cut off them, and they attach to this rubber piece that is loose at the end. That's where they get the name flip-flop. Now, no free lunches were a full flip-flop, which was good. A lot of the time what you have to do is cut the middle out of the flip-flop, so just the back part of the rubber is laying on the heel of the horse, and the middle part is open. So it'd be a shoe right here, right? Then you have the plastic part that would attach the shoe underneath the shoe to stabilize it. And then you have this free back part. Now this part, I believe, needs to be cut out for Tanzanite Tricks, just leaving this rubber edge at the back for her foot. And I think she'll be a little bit better. I'd like to see a mile and 2.2, 2.3 out of her this coming week. 2.6, windy or not, was just, I did notice one thing. There seemed to be a correlation between the horses that wore their trotting hobbles a little tight and that wind. I think that tired them out a little bit even more yesterday. I don't know if that makes sense or not, but when I look at the list of horses that were a little lackluster, Northern Blizzard stands out, hobbles tight. Italian Grit stands out, hobbles tight. I'm Hill on Wheels, Argento, although Argentos were a little looser than I think they should have been the other day. Those 4 horses have tight hobbles, and so does Tanzanite Tricks. 5 horses with snug hobbles, 5 horses qualified piss poor in the wind. So that may have something to do with it. I gave you the bad. I can run through the good if I want to. I'm going to give you the good real quick. So that was how many on the bad list? 2-year-olds and 3-year-olds. That whether it be raced poorly, were sick, jump shadows, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. 13 bad. I'm going to give you a list of 12 that were really good. And I just put them together really quick. No Free Lunch was absolutely amazing. I don't care. You can be the worst critic of the stable.ca. If you say that No Free Lunch didn't go good enough, you're an idiot. And that's just how it is. So, No Free Lunch was absolutely fantastic. Walk on the Moon was fantastic. GW Chrome, Lincoln Hanover, all fantastic. This puts I'm a Lovely Lady, when a qualifier in the wind, 2-2, at last half in a minute, last quarter, 29 seconds. It puts her in 5th. That's My Girl, trotted through the wind, last quarter in 28-3, chasing down I'm a Lovely Lady, a mile in 2-2-3, I believe, or 2-2-2. Mama Knows Best was very good. Braemar was exceptionally good. Warwi Was Up, won a mile 1:59 yesterday in the wind. Blue Monk was good. Momo was awesome. Fox Valley Britska was very good also. Let's see, we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. 12 right there that were very good. They don't obviously offset 13 or 14 that weren't, but at the same time, on the list of 14 that weren't was Beef and Cheddar, Italian Grit, Northern Blizzard, Roy Hill, and So Admirable. Horses that have already shown speed, qualified, and did okay. I guess they didn't all qualify, but they did okay. So lots of good news in that regard. You look on the pacing side. Need Your Opinion was awesome last night, right? Beef and Cheddar's big sister. Globetrotting, Compass Rose, DC, Spend That Money were all good. Excellent Nation, Susie K were good here also. These are just off the top of my head. Arctic Force was a winner last week. Sometimes Things Happen was very good. Bottle of Red, yeah, I drove her hard. So, shoot me. I didn't want to sit behind a 20-to-1 shot. I put her back on the front end. She could beat fair and square because she wasn't tight, but you know what? She'll be tighter this week. So, Bottle of Red also raced good. We have had a pretty good start to the stakes summer, right? Pretty spoiled. And I know this is the toughest time of the year when, the last video I was talking about to everybody, I love So Admirable. But make no mistake, If we can't get that wrinkle or two out of her, I'm just going to put her out in the field, right? Dr. Time and Dr. Green do a very, very good job on a lot of these 2-year-olds, and that is the biggest part of my job right now. Answering the emails from people saying, what happened to So Admirable? She looks terrible. What happened to Northern Blizzard? He should have been better than that. Why did Roy Hill jump? Why don't we wear a shadow roll on all our horses? And Nancy Allison, why don't we do a bunch of stuff to her? I get that everybody wants to see the horses do well all the time. But if you think that there's going to be this glaring change we're going to make and they're going to be perfect, I'm sorry. It's just 9 times out of 10, you're absolutely wrong. And I get it. I love when our clients send us these emails. And don't get me wrong. Feel free to send as many as you want. I'll respond to them and I'll answer them. You think of, and it's not always doom and gloom. I mean, one of our clients, Ruth, sent me the message last week saying that, hey, Anthony, why don't you put the hobbles on Ailsun? And immediately I said, no. Ailsun doesn't need the hobbles. He can train her here in 2.5. No problem. And as I said it out loud, just like that, I realized to myself, well, who cares if you can train her in 2.5 at Tomiko Training Center? Can't train her in 58 at Mohawk, and that's what she's going to have to go, on the little tracks to even be in the Buckeye. So who cares if you can train her without hobbles on? Furthermore, I've put hobbles on horses that are better gated than Ailsun in the past. So I found myself falling into that myopic horseman frame of mind where, no, this is how she was last year, so she should be fine this year. I did it myself, and I preach against it. So feel free. Even though if I don't agree with what you sent me right now, doesn't mean that it won't be applicable later on. And I appreciate everybody's 2 cents, even if I find them worthwhile or not. I appreciate the 2 cents. So, speaking of Ailsun, we did enter her in to go. She didn't get in to go. A lot of horses didn't get in this week. If you're asking yourself, hey, how come my horse wasn't in this week? Rest assured, they were all entered. But they didn't go with any of the non-winners of 2 trots, I think, on Monday. They were all carried over to Tuesday. We can only get 1 or 2 in. And if there's 25 entries, they're not taking 2 stable entries. You can be sure of that. They're taking 1. So, Johan, my own horse, Johan, didn't get in. A number of horses didn't get back in to go. So, there's that. This is all the stuff rattling around in my head all the time. Thank God it's full of air, because there would be no room for anything if it wasn't. Jason has Excellent Nation, Indigo, Susie K is going to be in the Buckeye. Sometimes things happen, and Rose Ron Valiant are in on Monday. It's just a ton going on. Now, the biggest news, obviously, is, I'm glad I started down this path. The biggest news for me is the border, right? Here's the problem. For our American clients, in Ohio, they haven't asked Jason to quarantine. I don't know if he was supposed to, but they didn't ask him to, and he's been fine. But this is the world we live in today, right? Is that I couldn't go to Ohio, sneak back into Canada, and not quarantine. 1, it would be irresponsible. 2, I believe it's illegal, and 3, most importantly, it wouldn't be fair to everybody around me, right? So, and to be honest, do I want to come home and walk back into my house with my family in proximity of me, not knowing? I mean, I'm sure it's ignorant, naive of me to say, oh, I won't get that. Nobody will get it until you get it. So, these are why the rules are in place. So when I go to Ohio, I'll be staying in Ohio until they open the border up, racing in Ohio and Pennsylvania. But the problem is that now Amy can't even come because they're talking, it's going to be announced next week. They're pushing the border restrictions back till the end of July. It was the end of June, now it's going to be the end of July. So I'm not going to be able to see my family from whenever I leave to go to Ohio till when they're allowed to join me in Ohio, or when I can come back without quarantine, which is the same time. So that's why I was so pleased to see Trace Dietrich do good with the fillies last night. Probably what you'll see happen is he'll be offered the drives again. Do I need to go over there to race in the Buckeye? No. Do I need to go over there to race 3 horses that just, Trace Dietrich just got along really well with? No, I don't. And I'm perfectly fine with that. So if Trace Dietrich wants to come and drive Globe Trotting, Compass Rose, DC, and spend that money again next time on the 26th, if he has the availability to do so, which he said he likely would, I think it's probably in our best interest to get him to do it. It gives me more time over here also to work with the babies. I can assure you I will be in Ohio by July 3rd when all the Colts and Fillies race at Northfield. But it gives me more time to spend here at the barn, more time to spend with my family, and more time to work on the overall picture, not just a group of horses in Ohio and Pennsylvania. We don't just have Ohio. Remember, Pennsylvania's coming, so at some point I'm going to slide down to the border, get my B1 so I can go across. Make sure all my information is intact so I can get across, race in Ohio, race in Pennsylvania, and hopefully, rather than a month without seeing my family and being able to work with the horses over here, it'll only be a couple of weeks. So that was really weighing on me. I had made the decision. Amy and I had talked about it and said, when you have to go, you have to go. So I was literally, it felt like I held my breath for a minute and 55.1 seconds last night when Globetrotting was racing. I was worried that something would go wrong with one or all of the fillies. And shockingly enough, a top driver like Trace Dietrich did a great job and got them around. So now that I'm talking about it out loud, I think it's more definitive. I think given the situation we have at the border and given the fact that these are experienced fillies that do well, I think I'm perfectly fine with offering the drive back to Trace on those 3 horses if he wants to go to Northfield on the 26th, because I likely can't. Well, I can, but that would mean I'm in Ohio for the next little while. I will be there for the 3rd, but it does save me 1 week. So we'll see how that takes place. If he does want to go, if he bites and he's coming, great. If not, it's a 4.5-hour drive, and it's just an extra week that I have to be in the United States. Not the end of the world, but obviously not ideal for me. So that's where we're at right now. I let everybody know, the people that are out there and love to be depressed. I gave you a list of horses that I was not happy with this week. But to counter that, I gave you a list of horses I was impressed with. I'm going to give you a top 10 list, and this is as real as it gets right now, with everybody pretty well qualified, aside from probably one of our biggest stars so far training down Eternity Road. We've opted to take a week with him and work on a few little issues that were bothering him. Not a big deal at all. But for the most part, everybody else, not everybody else, obviously War We Welcome is not qualified also. We're going to wait. I know Mario was angling today to get at it. He said, what about just qualifying her easy next week? No, I want to take her over Wednesday and train her in 2-1 or 2-2, and then know she's ready to go without the added stress of the starting gate. We can put her on that starting gate right over there next week and put her nose on it and let her get used to it. I highly doubt there'll be any issues with the starting gate with War We Welcome. She's just too intelligent to care. And we'll be off to the races. So, again, pretty pumped about the start we've had in Ohio. We always seem to get out of the gate well in Ohio. I'm really, really excited and happy that Globetrotting was good. The other 2 fillies raced fantastic. Excellent Nation raced good. Susie K raced good. Lots of horses coming up. I guess the only downside was Overdue Mission made a break the other day in her qualifier. That was a little upsetting. But hopefully we'll get her squared away soon enough. A great contingency right now in Ohio. I'm looking at the 12 horses I said went really well. I'm a Lovely Lady, Ohio. Mama Knows Best, Ohio. GW Chrome, Ohio. Momo, Ohio. Also, Roy Hill will be squared away, Ohio. Desperado was pretty decent, Ohio. And Well and Down, again, Ohio. A number of other trotters did pretty good this week, and we still haven't got Eternity Road to the track yet, and he'll be going there very soon. Just a lot going on. Just as you can tell, I'm bouncing around more than I usually do in this opening, but just a lot jammed into this noggin for the next 2 weeks. So it begins. It has begun, but it begins. It really begins right now. There'll be a number of horses. I will give you a very in-depth look at the 3-year-olds, at the 2-year-olds, telling you what I'd like to see, where I'd like to see it happen, and when it will take place. And that will start in just a moment. But for now, that's your opening. A good start. A good start. Thank you, everybody, for the kind words and the nice messages. Yes, I am working hard, but that is my job. And this year is a little bit different, and we all have different parameters to work with, but we will get it done. So, I'll be back in just a minute. We got a lot to talk about. Not just in the opening. Take care.